Hey everybody, it's Tosh here with Tactical Hyve and Strategic Ops Training. Today I'm joined with Teddy Williams. He's one of our law enforcement instructors, and he was with LAPD for 29 years. And he's going to help us today to deal with first contact after a shooting with law enforcement. All right, Teddy, so give us a little history on who you are.
My name is Teddy Williams. I spent 29 years at the Los Angeles Police Department. I worked multiple assignments from gangs to a special fugitive squad, counterterrorism, and I was the lead trainer before I retired from the department in December. Prior to that, I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps.
Okay, Teddy. So we're going to do a couple scenarios where we have a CCW carrier engages in a threat, and the police are going to roll up on them and how they should deal with that. So we're going to run the scenario, let them go through the process, and then we'll run the process, and then we'll do a critique on how it went for the actual shooter. Okay, Teddy, before we get started, in general, deconflicting with law enforcement as they show up, can you talk about that process?
One of the number one things that you want to think about as maybe an armed citizen who put a guy down at a location, the situation's done, and now law enforcement's responding. The key here is to make yourself as non-threatening as you possibly can to the officer. And it's very, very important to do everything that they tell you to do. Very, very important. Communication is key here. Different agencies have different policies. Some agencies, they run what we call L cars, loan cars. At the Los Angeles Police Department, we would run 2 officers all the time, which was super important. Tosh and I offline talked about this a little bit. So it's going to vary from city to city as far as law enforcement response. With 2022, with all the active shooter situations that have been going on around the country, I would imagine that there are some agencies that a lone officer will run in to engage if he believes it's a active shooter situation. Very, very important, though, that you communicate with the police officer and let him know what you've got going on. You have to identify yourself as the good guy and then de-arm yourself.
Okay, so when you say de-arm yourself, that doesn't mean put your gun in your holster, right?
It depends, Tosh, only because if you got a holster on you and you're able to conceal it, and then advise the officer with your hands up that, hey, I have a CCW, I'm your good guy, I'm the good guy, I'm here to help you, that kind of thing, and do whatever the officer tells you to do. Also understand, though, like we talked offline about this.
He's not going to believe that initially. It
depends. Cops are pretty intuitive. They're pretty intuitive to determining who's friend and who's foe. The thing is, though, you as an armed citizen in a location and you just put a bad guy down, is he truly down? Where is his weapon at? You have to take these things into consideration. So as the police show up and you decide that, hey, I want to surrender to the police officer, you might still potentially have a threat there. How do you play that balance? These are the things that we have to play out as armed citizens who got involved in a critical incident. Is the suspect truly down? Where is his weapon at? Did he bring another weapon? We can keep peeling back the layers on this. But just to keep it simple, armed citizen puts a guy down, law enforcement shows up, make the cop feel safe. That's the best way I can put it. Make him feel like you are not a threat at all whatsoever.
Should you put the gun down, unload it, make it safe, render it safe and put it down, or should you just put it down?
For me personally, as the responding officer, any manipulations done to a pistol after I'm giving you directions to drop the pistol, I'm going to perceive that as a threat. Are you recharging the pistol? You know what I mean? Right. You got involved in something, now what are you doing with the gun? But you're definitely not doing what I told you to do. So no, I probably wouldn't render it safe.
What about before the police show up?
Once again, communication is key. Whoever's dropped a dime to 911, give out as much information you possibly can. Description of yourself is going to be paramount. When I show up, gentleman with a black shirt, blue jeans on, with black sunglasses on and gray hair, there's my guy right there. That's my good guy. At least that's the information I was given. And that's half the fight right there, identifying who's friendly and who's foe.
So Myles doesn't know what the scenarios are going to be, so his reactions are going to be based on what he thinks is correct. So while we're rolling out the scenario and he's doing it, you're going to do exactly how you would do it as a law enforcement officer, that first initial contact with him, and do your thing.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
Hey, how's it going, man? Just gonna grab some coffee.
Oh yeah, fresh pot.
Awesome.
Everybody down! Oh shit!
Whoa, whoa.
Everybody down!
I'm down.
Give me the money.
All right, hold on.
Money.
It takes a little bit.
Come on, hurry up.
I'm down.
All right, money. Give me the money.
All right, hold on. It takes a little bit.
You all right there?
Police officer!
Police officer! Drop the gun!
Give me a backup on my location.
All right, Teddy, we just ran the first scenario. We had to run it twice because the first time the CCW guy got shot. Can you explain overall what happened on that situation?
I was entering the convenience store and I heard the gunfire go off. After hearing the gunfire go off, I realized I couldn't see my shooter. I saw a person down. I couldn't see who put him down. I did hear the gunfire though. And I took up a barricaded position on the door, identified who my threat was, who I perceived to be my threat, which was Myles, who had his pistol out. And I gave him 2 commands: drop the gun, drop the gun. For me, when I was active in a situation like this, about 2 commands is all you're gonna get. I'm worried about the person who's down. Don't know what the scenario was, didn't realize he was a robbery suspect, but I know I've got somebody down, I've gotta deal with that, and also have to deal with somebody who has presented a pistol and is obviously my adversary at that point. I gave him 2, drop the gun, drop the gun. After we talked about it afterwards, he was trying to justify his actions as to what he did instead of just doing what he was told. And with 2 drop the guns, for me, when I was operating out in the field, it's about all you're gonna get. We're operating in nanoseconds, and 2 commands, and they're very, very precise commands: drop the gun, drop the gun. He wasn't going along with the program, so I had to put him down.
And you're a guy with a lot of experience. So if you have a newer law enforcement officer or a guy who's getting ready to retire, they're probably not going to be as patient, probably.
Yeah, that's correct.
Worst case scenario, maybe?
There's kind of an unwritten rule in law enforcement. The first 5 years on the job are the most dangerous. Your last 5 years are the most dangerous. Your first 5 years, you don't know enough. And your last 5 years, you've seen too much. And you kind of don't give a shit anymore. That's the truth. In what you're describing there, with the newer officer, everybody's different. This isn't a blanket term for everybody who's got, say, less than 5 years on the job. Everyone's different. They're going to respond differently. I would imagine, though, some guys maybe a little bit overeager. Maybe just the presentation of that pistol with somebody down. Maybe they won't give a command. Maybe they'll just let it fly.
The bottom line on that is do exactly what the law enforcement officer is doing. Don't try to justify your actions. Just be compliant.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, now the second scenario, we ran it again. We remediated Myles. He did it, and he immediately responded to your commands.
Yes.
Okay.
Even in role playing and scenario playing, you can feel yourself get jacked. You get sucked up in that vortex. And on the second run that we did, and also remembering that I shot Myles in the first scenario, when we did it the second time, I can truly tell you that I felt relief when you put the gun down. You can feel your body go, thank God. That's super important. And everything that we're talking about today, we were experiencing those feelings as we're going through these scenarios. And as we started, and I said it's super, super important to follow commands. When Myles followed the commands the second time around, I can tell you I just felt a flood of relief.
All right, so now we're going to do a little bit different scenario. So time is going to go by before you respond, before the law enforcement officer responds. And well, let's see what Myles does in that time period in between you responding and him shooting down a potential bad guy.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
Hey man, how's it going? Got some coffee?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, get on the ground. On the ground.
I'm going down.
You're giving me the money. All right.
I'm going down.
Money. All right. Get the money. All right. Hold on. Hurry up.
Sit down. Hey man, get out of the store.
All right. Hey, I'm coming through.
Police officer!
Alright,
Drop the gun!
I'm dropping it. Just
Stand up!
I just.
Face away from me! Hands on top of your head. Down your knees.
I'm listening.
Cross your ankles. Don't move.
Not moving.
Let me get a backup on my location.
Okay, Teddy, this last scenario, there's a little bit of a time delay between the shooting and the police showing up. And some things happened a little bit differently. So why don't you go ahead and give us your take, and then we'll talk about what the shooter, the civilian responder, what his actions should be.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. I saw a couple things that I thought were, I give Myles a big thumbs up. After putting the guy down, he made it a priority to put distance between the suspect's firearm and the suspect that he put down. Distance grants you time. on the CCW owner's part. The other thing I like was Myles took a barricaded position. He put himself behind a position of cover and then waited for the police to respond.
So I have a question on that.
Go.
So is there a danger in doing that? So putting yourself in a barricade position and police showing up and then the cops showing up, seeing a guy behind a barricaded position, is that something to be concerned about as a CCW?
With a lot of stuff that we're talking about, it's just going to be my opinion and how Teddy Williams, Officer Williams, will respond to X, Y, and Z. And the way that the situation was painted to me, for me personally, everybody's different. For me personally, having Myles behind a barricaded position, because I also maintain cover at the front door, so we're both at a position of advantage, and I would allow that. In other words, I'm not going to be any more freaked out that he's taking cover, but that's me. Some of the things that I thought kind of lacking. Information. Information is key here. It's really key here. At the moment that Myles took a barricaded position, he's got the weapon away from the suspect, and he's at a barricaded position. I don't see a problem with him getting on his cell phone. Getting on his cell phone, immediately getting on 911. Okay. And I need exactly what happened, suspect description, what Myles is wearing, what does my good guy look like. That's going to be super, super important. The more information I have in responding to an incident like this, the better off it is for me. Now, I realize that our time delay was shorter here, but had this have been an actual radio call where Myles actually dropped the dime, was able to get out that information, and I'm responding, I'm going to respond with the crew of guys, and we're going to do all of our call out and do all of our commands out in the parking lot. I'd much rather fight in the parking lot than fight inside the store. So instead of taking a barricaded position the way he did in the store, maybe a half barricade at the front door. So as I'm pulling up, I can see everything. Right. The front door's open, and the way that this building was set up, I could see where the suspect was down. I know I'm responding to a robbery that just occurred, and Myles took a position on the outside of the store where I, as the officer, feel more comfortable. I feel more comfortable. I've got a car for cover, and I've got a lot of different places to go to if I need to.
So Myles, actually, I was the storekeeper. Myles actually told me to get out of the store. Was that a good call?
I think so, yes. I think it is a good call. The other reason, too, is you coming out of the store, you bring up a really good point. You coming out of the store, you can give me information. Right. We were getting robbed. There was a guy in there with the pistol. He put the guy down. I think he's a good guy. You're giving me information, and that's paramount in this case. I need as much information I can possibly get from either the store clerk who's running out, or if Myles is able to drop a dime to 911.
Okay, so the bottom line is you're CCW holder, you just get in a confrontation, get to a barricaded position, make a call to 911, give full description of yourself and the situation to 911, so when the cops arrive, they already understand your situation.
Absolutely.
Getting the weapon system away from the guy that is down. Would you say they need to do a body check to see if he has any other weapons, to check to see if he's alive, or should he just get the gun away from him and then move to his secure position?
Those are all really good questions. I don't know a whole lot of civilians or CCW holders who carry handcuffs or any type of restraint devices on them, flex cuffs, things of that nature. After you've put the guy down, in approaching him, you might be opening up a whole new can of worms, a completely new can of worms. What if he's playing possum? He's playing possum. What if he brought another gun and just waiting to draw you in? I personally wouldn't advise approaching the guy. I just, without the proper training, without the proper resources, without the proper equipment, I wouldn't advise that.
Okay, just get the gun away, back away, and barricade yourself and hold down on the...
Distance creates time. Time will save your life.
And dial 911.
Absolutely.
All right, so that was our first contact with law enforcement after a shooting. Deconflicting with law enforcement as they approach after you get in a gunfight. One of the things that I tell people to be prepared for, be prepared to get arrested, be prepared to get cuffs put on you, be prepared for your gun to be taken away. I'm not saying it's always going to happen that way, but be prepared for that mentally so you don't freak out over that situation. The cops are going to do everything in their power to keep themselves and the scene safe. So one of the things that they're going to do is they're going to minimize you as much as possible to ensure that you are who you are. Okay? Would you agree on that?
Totally, completely agree with you.
Your assessment on this, is this stuff that people need to be doing or training once they get their CCW? Absolutely. At least getting exposed to this type of training?
And putting yourself in the right mindset. They really do. If you're the type of individual that's gone as far as to want a CCW, that's when your training starts. You really got to start training. You've got to start putting your mindset that you're an armed person now. You're an armed person, and what are the different things that you might get involved in as an armed person? But also understand, though, as a citizen with the CCW, not necessarily looking for work. Sometimes I may be placed in a situation where I've got to act or respond for immediate defense of life, either for myself or for somebody else. But at the end of the day, our goal is always to be the best witness that we possibly can. It truly has to be the last resort. If you get involved in something like this, you had no other options. Because believe me, you put a guy down, law enforcement or civilian, you got some questions to answer, a lot of questions to answer, and there might be some liability issues there. So,
And that's a video for another day, because that's a big subject, right?
It is. It's huge.
So if you guys like the content, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.